Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm very excited to welcome my guest, Maddy Rifkin. Maddy is the CEO and co-founder of Mount. This is really cool. Maddy has a software solution for hosts to make any amenity rentable. Right? Sounds good, right? Okay, I'm going to bring Maddy on so she can explain it and let us know exactly how all of us can work this into our current hosting strategies. So hang on. Hello.
Hi, Pam. Good to see you.
How are you? Thanks for coming. I'm really excited because I love your concept. So start from the beginning and tell us all about Mount and tell us how you got started with it, because how did you get started? I mean, it's a great idea. And then we'll take it from there.
Sounds great. Yes, I can give you the origin story. So I'm the founder of Mount. Used to be called Mount Locks for a very specific reason. Mount and myself did not start in the short-term rental space. I started this company as a 12-year-old, and it was in the bike lock space.
Nice.
Yes, very, very different, but I look at everything as learnings that got me to this point. So started as a bike lock company, ended up getting a patent for that when I was 15, and then started the company, which was called Mount Locks.
Love it.
Yeah, so it's been a fun journey. And we started as bike locks, went to scooter locks, worked with Bird and Lime, saw them become huge companies right before our eyes, and then found ourselves in the short-term rental Airbnb space. And it was simply because the people that were renting scooters were tourists. And I thought if I put the scooters at Airbnb properties, worked with the hosts, that the guests might respond better to having scooters there as opposed to just anywhere in the middle of the street.
No, perfect. I saw you when you were doing the scooters, and that's when I first thought, wow, this is fantastic. I wonder if she's gonna, do short-term rentals. And then you do short-term rentals. I was like, nice.
Totally. And yeah, here we are. And I think we've learned along the way just more and more product refining. So we went from just offering scooters at short-term rentals to then realizing it just could be anything that the guest wanted. And Mount didn't actually necessarily need to supply and manage and maintain the scooters, which allowed us to scale a lot faster. So we became just a software platform that ended up taking anything you as the property manager, owner, host had extra. And that could be kayaks, paddleboards, golf carts, pretty much anything that's big and hard to manage. Turn that into a rentable amenity because we learned that travelers aren't really expecting that to be included. And have now kind of really further evolved into not just gear you guys own, but we've hooked into all of the local vendors as well so that you can work with them to supply the bike rentals if you don't want to, and have just made it a lot easier to just honestly supply a better guest experience.
Okay, fantastic. I love the story. How does it actually work, though? How do hosts get involved? How do they make it work for them?
It's a good question. Right now, as it stands, Mount has a huge marketplace, and we like to say it's three-sided. So we work with all of the hosting community as one side. We work with all of the local vendors, the gear providers, people who are providing experiences. We have 40,000 of those people in the platform already.
Wow.
And then our third side of the marketplace, which just happens to be nomadic travelers. They love following our journey, trying to stay at places that use Mount. And we've been tapping into traveler communities to give us access to, over 500,000 travelers that are actively searching and looking for Mount. That's our big marketplace. No one knows we really do that because we don't publicize it anywhere. We're not trying to become another Viator or TripAdvisor. It's not what we're doing. We distill everything down into mini marketplaces. So this is where the host comes in. You work with Mount, and you get your own custom white labeled mini marketplace. So it has your brand on it. It has your voice as a local, and then you can pull different experiences from the big marketplace into yours. So it looks like you're the one offering them. You can also, in this mini marketplace, add on your own curated experiences. So if you want to host electric bikes at your property, you can do that as well. And this mini marketplace becomes your page. It's a web page that enables you to offer all these amazing experiences to your guests. It's where they book it. It's where they pay for it. And since you're in the Mount ecosystem, you get access to our insurance policy, damage waivers, these 40,000 vendors, and just kind of this amazing ecosystem we're building.
Wow, that's really a great idea. So if I'm a host and I want to do bike rentals from my space, do I go to the vendor that's local, or do you already have someone that we would go through, or how does the real local part of it work?
Yeah, so typically you would start working with us. So you would need to book a demo. That's how you can get access to the big marketplace and see what's available.
Okay.
If we are in your area already, chances are we are, you can just say you want bike rentals. We'll find you the vendor. They're already in the marketplace, and you just pull them in. And we've negotiated rates and contracts and stuff like that on your behalf.
Wow. That's even easier than I thought.
Very easy. But, there are people that are in very kind of rural areas or just places Mount isn't yet. Big Sky, Montana actually was one of them yesterday. So we realized that the hosts are most of the time locals as well, or at least know the local ecosystem, know the local businesses. So if you just happen to be a go-getter and want to be kind of the Mount ambassador for that market, you are welcome to sign on and do that and help us get it set up. So we're able to work with you in a lot of different ways.
Okay, so are you, what kind of offerings do you have for urban scenarios? Because I do a lot of work with urban hosts.
Yeah, urban is probably, you would want to work with the local businesses and vendors so that you don't personally have to keep like 5 bikes in your 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
But urban is interesting because it's typically tours around food are very popular. So like the local foodie tours, hidden gems, people will host those as locals for your guests, and they're really fun and entertaining. The other one, depending on the urban market, that's huge is like brewery tours. Those are just really popular among travelers right now. So we have a lot of those on the marketplace. And then it just depends on the urban setting. I mean, those are the top 2 for urban, but electric bikes comes in a close third just because people like hopping on those and having the tour around town. We don't really dabble in like the big experiences. Tourist traps are, just like a good example of that is like the Statue of Liberty in New York. Like we will not have a tour that takes you there. You got to do that one on your own. But if it's hyper localized, that'll be on ours.
Oh, wow, that's great. So I love that it's not just a physical thing. It's the tours. That's huge. It was great when it was scooters, and it's really good now. So I really love the concept. What's so just generally speaking, what's the biggest or the favorite kind of thing? Is it the tours, or is it the bikes or something like that?
It's a combination. I think what it comes down to is the guests that are coming to your property are most of the time, like I'd say 83% of the time, actively seeking experiences to go on and do. It's very dependent on the location, but as long as it's giving them like a memorable experience they otherwise wouldn't have, it definitely falls into the wheelhouse of what we're doing. So that could mean a tour, but a lot of the times they like renting the gear, like the paddle boards, the bikes, kayaks, especially if that's on your property. The convenience factor for them is insane. So we actually work with a property management company that has all their properties right near wineries. So they put bikes at their property with Mount so that the guests could rent them and then, bike to all the wineries, see them, interact with them, and have that great experience.
Who wouldn't want to do that? That's so fantastic. If the bike is right there, absolutely you're going to do that. And so as the host, then when do you present these options? Is it, I don't know, how are people getting this information to their guests or potential guests?
Oh, that's a good question. We like to say that everyone that works with Mount that has these mini marketplaces is essentially becoming a marketer. Because the big question we get asked from hosts is, how much money can I expect to make from this? Are people actually going to book stuff? What's the data? And it's really hard to answer that question because it's very dependent on how you market your marketplace. And we have some guidelines and some best practices, and some of them include putting your mini marketplace link in a digital guidebook. That's been super helpful in driving traffic to it. But our bottom line is the more you tell your guests that you've curated these amazing local experiences and really get the point across that you are a trusted resource, they are going to book. They just need to know it's available. Because I think a lot of people on this call and just in general might resonate with the fact that your guests are just peppering you with questions of, what should I be doing? Where should I be going? What are the best restaurants? Because, people want to get the recommendations from locals, and just in their minds, you are a local. So we
Yes.
just give you a way to basically automate that process.
It seems just prime for hosts to use in their marketing, their social media marketing, just everything. It seems like another kind of pillar for your social media content, just to have, your experiences, your offerings, whatever you're getting from Mount. That is a fantastic way to get in front of a potential audience of guests. I love it. I can't, it's fabulous. Even for the urban host who is doing the tours, you're not obviously showing yourself riding down your block on a bike necessarily, but you could, take some video, go to some of these places, go on the tour, and shoot it live on social media, or get some good footage and continue to post it. And I'm sure that you will attract guests with that, because that's really unusual. In this market, I'm in Chicago. There are a lot of tours, but if you don't know where to look for them, you're not going to find the good ones. So I love it. I love it.
And two, I think the thing that not a lot of people are thinking about right now, especially if they're new hosts or they're thinking about becoming a host as well, is that one, because of the pandemic, two, because people are just like very much thinking they can make a ton of money on Airbnb. Most markets right now are oversaturated with properties that are rentable. And hosts and property managers are finding it very hard to differentiate. Like, next door could also be an Airbnb and it might look the exact same, offer a pool just like yours does. And the guest is, what sets you apart to attract more occupancy and more guests. And this is one of the perfect options for that, is like, hey, give them the full guest experience, not just a place to stay.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And so how does it work? Do we sign up? Is there a subscription? How does that part work?
Yeah, so we are technically a software company, so you do need to sign up, and then there will be a monthly subscription attached.
Okay.
It is dependent on what you want to pull into the mini marketplace, how many properties, and then how many markets you're in. So it's mostly custom quoted at this point. But that is how you start working with us, and we will gather all the information from you, populate the page, give you the unique URL, make sure you're happy with it, and then help you learn how to sell it to your guests, essentially.
Nice. And we can brand it, the page, the shopping page?
Yeah, so it has all these customizable areas you can put in your logo. The front page, or the front picture, is customizable. There's a main blurb that's your voice to explain and build trust with your guests as to why you're local. The only thing that the page will say is like, hey, it's powered by Mount. We're facilitating the bookings and stuff like that.
Okay. And so when the guest is actually securing the tour or product, they are going through your portal? Is that what we're calling it? They're accessing?
Yeah, actually, I've never done this on a podcast like this before, but I can show you the product if you want. I can share my screen.
I would love to see the product.
It will be a first ever, so this is kind of
It is a first. It's a first for me too. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but let's see.
Yeah, let's see. Sorry, I know I just totally put it.
No, let's see. No, this is good.
Let's see. Can you see that?
I'll bring it up. Look at that.
Look at that. Let's go. So whoever's on this webinar and podcast, this is a first ever for Mount. I'm giving a live product demo.
There you go.
This is what we call a mini marketplace. So as you can see, it's definitely white labeled to this specific property and area, and this happens to be in San Diego. And then we have two categories. So we have the enhance your stay category. These are add-ons to the specific property that you would manage. So if you wanted to put e-bikes directly on the property, that type of stuff. And Mount's software just makes it bookable for the entire stay. And it takes you to the calendar, and you can do all that and book it just right there. The other unique aspect is the local experiences. So this is exactly where your guests would find what you've put together in the offering. This seafood tour has been here, and I'm like, I need to go try this because it looks fantastic. But basically, if it looks interesting to you as a guest, you just click book now, and it takes you directly to the vendor's booking page. So it brings up more information about the exact tour, itinerary, considerations, if there's reviews that are populated, and you can come in here and pick your day and pay for it here. And the reason we've chosen to show you who the vendor is so that your guest doesn't ask you questions or us about the specific tour, like where is it meeting, what am I doing, because you and I will not have those answers. So it enables the vendor to get involved as well. But all seamless in one page, so it seems to work pretty well.
Wow, that is fantastic. And then guest hosts are paid at the end of the month, or how's that
Typically
work?
at the end of the month, so we can reconcile, with the tour operators and then also the gear that you're renting, any refunds or cancellations, all that stuff. So yeah, you have a dashboard you'll eventually be able to see where it's like, hey, here's how many bookings you're getting, conversion rates, all that great stuff. Not live yet, but that is coming as well.
Okay, and what is the insurance situation? You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the one. Not the one, but it is one of the biggest ones that sets Mount apart from everyone else out there, is that if you want to make your gear rentable, so that could be electric bikes, kayaks, paddleboards, most likely one of the reasons stopping you at this moment in time is the insurance aspect. Your property insurance doesn't really cover it if you want to put a price on it. And then also just insurance policies for that type of gear are just incredibly expensive.
Right.
So Mount has curated a policy custom to us that basically covers injury liability when those things are being rented out. We're the owner of the policy, and by working with us, you become additionally insured.
Okay.
So you can have just that extra peace of mind that, if someone's renting an electric bike on your property and somehow hurts themselves, you're not just going to be left in the dust and forgotten about.
Oh no, that's great. That is the reason that would certainly keep me from doing it otherwise, because it's just, it might not be worth it if if there's no coverage. But if you've got that taken care of, I see no downside. This is so exciting. What else should we know about Mount?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we've covered it a lot, most of it. But honestly, I think our bread and butter is just how do we make the guest experience better? And I think the thing setting Mount apart in our specific short-term rental industry is that most vendors and tech-enabled companies are really only thinking about you, the host, and giving you tools to hopefully offer a better guest experience, but they're not thinking about the traveler and their mindset. It's very different from yours. And the traveler at this point in time is really feeling nickel and dimes, left in the lurch by Airbnb because of the cleaning fees and the service fees and all the fees. And so they have kind of a guarded mindset at this moment in time that has not existed in the past, where if they feel they're about to be charged for, and this is the extreme, but toilet paper,
right,
utensils, like all of that stuff that should be included, that is their mindset right now. So if you try and put in front of a guest, hey, I'm gonna actually charge you for pool heating, I'm gonna charge you for a late check-in and an early checkout, like that stuff to the guest is just like, why? I can get that included in a hotel and maybe that's where I should go stay. Why they're staying at a short-term rental is for the extra value and the experience. It's like, I stay in short-term rentals because I want to go live with a local and also have these amazing experiences that they might tell me about. The hotel's not going to give me that. So I think that's the thing Mount has in mind, is like, we built this from the traveler perspective. We're all nomadic travelers at Mount. We built this because we wanted it. And so that's the thing really setting us apart. And if you work with us, you'll know, is like, we have the traveler in mind, and you can bring ideas to us, but we will tell you, your guest is going to feel nickel and dimed, and I wouldn't do it.
Okay. So what kinds of things are in that category?
I mean, the most recent one actually is the pool heating, because we've had some hosts ask about that. And I do understand in some areas for short-term rentals specifically, it is quite common to charge for pool heating, but I don't think they're taking into account, the guest isn't thinking like that. They're not thinking about your unit economics, that it costs an extra $200 to heat the pool. And even if they see that you're charging for it, that's not what's coming in their mind. What's coming in their mind is like, what the hell, why am I being charged for this?
Right.
So it's stuff like that where it's like, intuitively to a host, it makes sense because you have unit economics, you're paying a lot for it, and you should pass the cost on to the guest. It's kind of, I think, probably where cleaning fees came from, to be honest. But you have to think about the traveler perspective and how it looks to them, and they're not pleased. So it's like finding that happy medium.
Okay. So sheets and towels and those kinds of things are a no-go. But electric bikes, I'm thinking of the urban situation, the tours, the scooters. Are we doing scooters?
We can, yeah. Yeah, I mean, our party line is like, whatever your guest would get off property that they're probably paying for anyways, you should be offering, because they're already paying for it, and they're trained that way. So like bikes is a great example. Right now, if you show up to an Airbnb property on the beach in Florida, you're going to want bikes because you want to cruise down the coastline, you want to take a boardwalk, all that stuff. You'll go find a vendor that does that. You'll travel the mile, 2 miles down the road and do it in a very inconvenient, cumbersome way.
Yeah, I've done that.
And not have them be available.
I've done that.
Makes intuitive sense to put on your property and tell your guests, hey, I'm offering this, because you know they'd already be paying for it. So that's kind of the mindset, is like, what do you think that your guests are asking? Well, your guests ask you questions too. Like, figure out what they're asking you and monetize that. Yeah,
they'll ask you either right as the inquiry prior to the booking. They'll ask you right after the booking, what's to do around there. They'll ask you when you get there. So I love the idea of having this available ahead of time, so that you're not having these kind of one-off conversations, and you can just be like, hey, here's my page, here's my shop, go check it out. I've got all kind of cool stuff on it. And then they're going through and doing, what makes them happy. So that is a win-win-win, because the vendor's winning and you're winning. Everybody's winning. That is fantastic.
That was the goal.
I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you, this is totally off topic, but what about those bike locks? What did you do that was so special with the bike locks?
Oh my God, it was a funny story. So when I was 12 years old, I lived in Denver, Colorado. I biked everywhere, and I just still to this day, you can ask the Mount team, my memory is just not sharp. Like, I don't have one. And so I would always forget my bike lock. Just didn't take it with me, and drove my mom crazy. So what I did was I built the bike lock into the bike, like it was part of the frame. Because to me, I'm like, why the hell haven't they done this? This just makes sense.
Good one.
So that's what the bike lock was. It was a retracting 6-foot cable, could wrap around the entire bike, but was in the frame, and just made life easier.
Nice one. I'm gonna have to get my kids, up and thinking.
I know, right?
What are you doing? Yeah. Come on, where's your idea?
Props I love it. To my middle school, though, because they had the invention competition program that enabled me to build it and win the patent. They funded it, actually. So. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. There you go.
Props to them. All right, Maddie, I love your idea. I love watching your company morph and grow. And so I'm really happy that you would join us today. How can people, if they want to get started, when they want to get started with Mount, what do they do? Where do they go?
Yeah, so head to our website, rentmount.com, and there is a book a demo button, and that is the way everyone gets started with us. So book a demo will walk you through the product that you saw today. You'll get your list of experiences we already have, figure out how to work with us, and that's how to get started. So you can get in touch with us. There's a few team members you could chat with in the demo, and it's a good way to do this.
Okay. Is there like a lead time? If we have guests coming, X date, we should hurry up and get on with you so much ahead of time?
Yeah, we have a ton of demand right now. We had some viral TikToks, which just pushed a ton of people our way, which is great. So there is a bit of a backlog right now. If you get through the demo process, you're like, I want to move forward. It's, a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3, depending on how much demand we have at the moment to get that page fully live. So yeah, if you want to move quickly, get yourself in the process.
Get going.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I asked. Good stuff. Okay. Thanks, Maddie. I appreciate it. It's been great talking to you. I hope you come back again and show us more stuff, because I know you're going to take it someplace else, and I would love to know where you're going with everything. So congratulations, and thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye.